My parents demanded we skip my graduation ceremony for church. That happens every Sunday. So I'm writing this because my college plans were uprooted as of Sunday, June 16th. I'll be graduating this week, and my ceremony is later this week. However, my church announced that they'll be doing their own graduation ceremony on July 7th, where they'll have church graduates walk down the aisle of the sanctuary during service to be recognized and receive prayer, and the pastor announced it on the 16th. By the way, this comes from Throwaway2381, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, according to my parents, he said it was important to make sure the next generation rooted their future in God. And the church will be having a barbecue after service in honor of the graduates. However, I haven't attended church since I was 16 due to an incident I'll explain later, but my parents seem hell-bent on making sure I attend not just the church graduation, but church from now on too. And they added strings to prior agreements that were never attached. Before the church graduation was announced, my parents agreed to split tuition with me to attend a community college upon me finding a job this summer. I plan to transfer afterward to finish my bachelor's. However, after the announcement, my parents said they weren't going to attend my graduation and that I wasn't allowed to either. A complete 180 out of nowhere. We even invited relatives to attend from out of state, but my parents already told them to attend the church graduation instead. And I feel like they pulled the rug from under me. When I said I still planned to attend my high school graduation with my friends, they threatened to rescind their offer to pay for college if I went and didn't come to the church one. And I just felt blindsided by this. When I tried to explain how they changed their mind out of nowhere, they said that the pastor talked about how people lost their way in college by disregarding faith and morals, so they weren't going to pay for me to go and change because of worldly influences. Yes, when people learn
about themselves and how they want to interact with the world instead of just being force-fed identity and beliefs.
But when I said that I would pay for tuition myself without them if I find a job, while still attending the high school graduation, they said they'd charge me rent starting in July, which is unfair because I've yet to find a job. So they said, you have to pay for school, and you're like, fine. And they're like, well, you're also going to have to pay for rent. So they're actively trying to make it life harder for you.
Yeah, well, because it's not actually about like the school or rent. It's about control. They're literally just trying to control you.
I've been applying like crazy these past few weeks, and I have a few interviews lined up too. They're just trying to make me return to church after I stopped attending 2 years ago, and I've been really frustrated with their flip-flop. They've said they're doing this because they made mistakes in college before later finding God, and they didn't want me to make the same ones too. The last thing I'll add is this. I was bullied in that church in the past, and I reached my breaking point 2 years ago. The youth had a camp out on the grass behind the church where I was hazed by this really annoying girl, and no one did anything, including the assistant and chaperone in our tent. There were stupid pranks that were made in good fun, but the most hurtful thing was when that one girl made jokes and comments about my body and weight when we were changing that really hurt. And our tent chaperone did nothing when I told her afterward because she wasn't in there as we changed. This is just one of many things with this girl during youth group when leaders weren't looking, but that was the most hurtful. However, to my surprise, my parents took my side and didn't make me attend youth group after that, and they let me stop attending for the most part, to my surprise. I miss how they were reasonable in the past and hope they can be reasonable again with me here. Most of my relatives are also churchgoers and have agreed to attend the church graduation instead. And I just need advice because it all happens so fast, and it especially hurts that they don't want to attend my high school graduation.
Yeah.
But why would they go to the church graduation if you aren't going? It doesn't even make sense. Who are they going
for? You're supposed to go for these graduates. Who are you going for if your graduate is not going to be there?
My friends are in high school, and I don't consider anyone in our church's youth group to be my friend, so of course I want to graduate with my friends. But I can't pay rent in July as they're threatening because it's just a few days away, and I need advice on how to get through to them. And
all right, really
is
quick,
an update.
I mean, realistically, if OP doesn't pay rent, what are they going to do?
I guess it depends on how awful they are.
And how old is OP?
Presumably 18.
18? Or like, could it be like 17 going into 18?
Well, they're about to graduate, so.
What are the rules about kicking out your 18-year-old kid?
I mean, you can do it, unfortunately.
Can you?
Yeah, you can get kicked out.
Is there like squatters' rights or something, like?
They should, yeah. All you 18-year-olds, you need to learn about squatters' rights. But we're going to get into this update.
John, you've been dancing a lot.
I'm going to give you a live demonstration and you're going to see it too.
Show me those hips. Oh, damn. That is a good move. But you know what is also an amazing move?
What is that, Sam?
Becoming an OK Storytime member.
Yeah, that's freaking right. We have 60 plus hours of exclusive live streams on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Well, let's get back to the story.
I was unable to update sooner due to my phone being taken away. But I'll explain why. A few people suggested reaching out to some non-religious relatives to see if they could help or even provide shelter if they tried to throw me out. And I decided on my aunt after having no success with friends. I told my friends first about everything my parents threatened, but long story short, they talked to their parents who were unable to take me in, and they said it was last minute or mostly busy with their own things / graduations too. I then tried my aunt and told her everything too, and she said I could stay with her soon, but not in time for my high school graduation because it was really short notice. She said I could at some point this summer, and she wasn't initially coming to my graduation because she lives on the other side of the country, but she said she would try to talk some sense into my parents, and that led to my phone being removed. Oof. My parents didn't like that I told her because it was none of her business, according to them. I don't know what was said on the call, and they threatened to turn off my phone plan unless I gave them my phone. And I caved when they were yelling at me and gave it to them along with my laptop they wanted to. Because they threatened to punt me out sooner than July for talking about them to my aunt because she could tell others.
And now they're taking away OP's ability
Access to communicate.
To communicate with people and also get a job and have their. Again, this is all about control.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's different family dynamics, but if I had like a friend or a family member who was telling me that like their parents were taking away their ability to communicate and we're going to kick them out, I'd be like, come as soon as possible.
Yeah, and here's my computer.
Yeah.
Like, go on, Indeed, look at some jobs right now.
They also said that they'd put my stuff outside while I was at the high school graduation if I attended.
Oh my God, they suck.
Well, then they wouldn't be at the church service.
They suck.
So they would punt me out that night instead of their original threat to start charging me rent in July. So for those reasons, plus another I'll say in a moment, I decided not to attend my high school graduation. Because I wouldn't be able to enjoy it. Honestly, for your safety, I think that unfortunately is the best move. However, I think as soon as possible, you need to leave these, get out of here.
I think from this moment, it's like, okay, I'm going to do what you say right now.
Yeah.
But essentially, they're kind of ending the relationship.
Absolutely.
This is a complete overstep. It's not fair.
No.
Man, OP, I feel bad for you. It sucks.
I was already having anxiety about what they do to my stuff while there, and I didn't want to be homeless when I returned. I also had a loss of motivation to do other things leading up to it, hobbies like sports, hanging out, or even watching TV. I knew I wouldn't enjoy it because I was already dreading it before it happened, and my anxiety there would be worse than the lead up. I also didn't want to wear a smile the whole time with none of my family in attendance either. And I didn't think I could hide it emotionally either. I also decided to attend the church graduation to get it over with, and I rationalized it like I did with other things growing up. I was forced to go to youth group and kids choir growing up, and I was forced to be baptized too. This was no different, just 5 minutes of the pastor calling all graduates on stage to pray for them, and they didn't even give us a gift like on Mother's Day, LOL. All my life, I've had to suck up things I hated at church, and the church graduation was less tedious than the pre-baptism classes. They were mandatory. Okay, so you probably got baptized older. Because it was only 5 minutes on stage compared to the 3 weeks of baptism classes. Some relatives came, gave me money from cards, and we ate lunch at a restaurant afterward, something we did when my dad was elected to a church position years ago, and invited friends to see him get installed before lunch afterward. I'm pretty used to the song and dance, and this was easier / shorter than other church BS. My parents also returned my phone after the church graduation, and a lot of anxiety lessened when I decided to skip my graduation. don't get me wrong, I'll always hate them for it, and I'm no longer accepting their help for college either, which I think, unfortunately, is the smartest thing.
Yeah, you don't want them to have like any kind of grip on you.
No.
But all right, I don't
terrible.
understand how a parent could just totally relinquish any desire to help their child, like to actively make your child suffer.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
By the way, you know what else is okay? Listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. And I also didn't notice that when did we get more time? But there is a little bit more to this story. So we're going to jump into it. I'm going to find a job, hopefully 2, if part-time, and try to move out over the summer if I can. And I won't talk to them again afterward. Because of their stress, I've decided to skip a once-in-a-lifetime event to prioritize my mental health because I wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway with the stress. And the fact that they're happy with me for obeying as they gave my phone back should allow me to find jobs without additional stress. They also withdrew their July rent threat, and everything's been peaceful since the church graduation, although I'll never forgive them for what they tried to do.
Yeah, use this as your moment to be self-sufficient because you don't want to be under their thumb like ever again.
I also expect them to threaten me with something else in the future too, so I hope to move out as soon as possible, even if it means staying with my aunt until finding a job. I'm glad she said I could stay with her, and hopefully the time until I do remains peaceful. Also, if you need a little extra income, maybe send out like a picture of yourself graduating to
and
all of your family.
My parents are kicking me out.
No, just say like, I graduated, and then people send you graduation money.
Did you do that?
We'll be at a party. But I feel like you could throw a party if you want, but you can also just be like, I graduated.
Oh, that could work. Oh man, OP, this sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, what job do you get like in college that could actually pay for?
Well, you can become an RA and get subsidized housing.
Yeah, so you get subsidized housing and
like a food budget and stuff. Yeah.